the first video I saw was about the guy I'm about to mention, Yayo. We'll get into that. So Yayo has always been rumored as the guy who invented crack. That's always been the rumor.
Yep.
You know, so that's all I know him for, right? Then I see your video and it says something like along the lines, I forget the exact title you got, but it's like, you know, this Dominican drug lord.
The original Dominican Kingpin.
That's what it was. Yeah, I was like, and then it had the name Yayo, and I was like, wait a minute. There's a video explaining who this guy was?
Yeah, yeah.
And I was already knew somewhat of who he was. I know he was the, original, allegedly the original maker of crack. And then I knew also that there was this rap group that called themselves the Sons of Yayo. So
I gotta go watch them now.
So I clicked the video and I end up watching it, and I'm like, wow. So first, let's start off. He did not invent crack.
He did not invent crack. In fact, nobody really knows who did. Mm-hmm. The rumor is that some. I've read a couple, but rumor is some college student from San Francisco was a chemist major or something, and thought, what if I do this to cocaine? Well, what will happen? And then somehow it got word. Someone down in South Central Los Angeles got word of it. Mm-hmm. But another theory is that the Colombians created it. Mm. So there's no, you don't really know, but it wasn't Yayo. Yayo was introduced, the first to be introduced to it, and maybe not even the first, but the first to jump on it. Right? Mm-hmm. He was the first to learn about it and then jump on it.
I got
so that's what he is known for.
He's the first major crack dealer. Is that?
That's fair to say. In New York.
In New York, first major crack dealer. Okay, all right. So let's get into his story a little bit. So it's ironic. He started off as a boxer. So you know me, I'm the voice of Dominican boxing. We talk about a Dominican here who started boxing at the West Side Athletic Club. His trainer was Artinio Papo Colon, a pupil of Customado.
Uh-huh.
So how good of a boxer was he?
So I couldn't get down to that. So what's interesting is that I went to the West Side Athletic Club. If you've seen the video, I show a video of a snippet.
Yeah, it was like a basement, right?
It was a basement gym. Outside, when I went outside, there was a kid who grew up on the first floor on top of the gym. Shout out to that kid. I can't remember his name. Very, very nice guy. Spoke to him for a good 30 minutes. He goes, yeah, man. He goes, these guys went to war in that gym. That gym was known for battle. Like, that was even an exaggerated Gleason's. Okay. There wasn't no white collar. When you went to West Side Athletic Club, it was war the second you stepped in. And he said a lot of people couldn't handle it. They'd go in there, they sparred, and never come back. But the ones who remained were, those were they weeded out the weak, I guess you could say. So they put out a lot of tough guys. And so Yayo, in the newspaper, he won his first preliminary bout in the gloves in 1979. And then he lost the second fight in what was said in the newspaper as a very, very tough, very exciting, close decision. So I'm going to say he was at the very least a decent amateur.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And he started selling cocaine with another boxer named Roberto Mejia.
Yeah.
What was his relationship with Roberto Mejia aside from just, crack, both coke dealers?
So he met Roberto at the West Side Athletic Club.
Okay.
And what's funny is Roberto went on to become a pretty good professional. Mm-hmm. He had 8 fights, and he had a fight at the Taj Mahal, I believe, in Atlantic City. And there's an entire newspaper spread about him. And I couldn't find a way to really to put all the information there. I was kind of off track. But there's an entire article dedicated to Roberto Mejia where he says, all my brothers were involved in drug dealing. I would never do that. Right? He goes, I will never do that. He goes, I spent one night in jail, and I couldn't believe people go to jail for this stuff. He goes, and And then you got, within 2 years from that article, he's one of the biggest crack kingpins in New York City. So, he met Yayo at the athletic club.
Okay, all right. And in 1982, Yayo ended up getting arrested for a gun, having burglary tools. And how much time did he do for that? Do you know?
He did 8 months.
8 months.
At Rikers. So, in Rikers, if you're doing less than a year, if you're charged, you either go there for awaiting a sentence or you're doing less than a year. So he did his 8 months at Rikers and he was right back home. Oh, that was and interestingly enough, that was the only prison time. Well, it's not even prison. It's the only incarceration time he did in the United States in his entire career. 8 months.
It's amazing.
Wow.
It's amazing, especially we'll get into the level he was at in a bit. So he sold. He first started calling his crack baseballs.
Baseballs, yeah.
I'm assuming because he's Dominican. He was really into baseball as well.
That's interesting. That's an interesting concept, but that could have been a triple entendre for all I know. But I know that it was based, BASED, was because of freebase. Right? So freebasing, what they called, before crack, they freebased cocaine, which meant they added ether, which is a flammable chemical that separated the additives from cocaine, and then you had to light it with a torch. It was you're playing with fire, literally, and there was a lot of explosions.
Yeah.
You remember Richard Pryor? Mm-hmm. He had a freebasing accident, burned his hair, his head, everything. He's the most well-known accident. But it was baseballs was officially comes from the term freebase. But like you said, based balls. Maybe he really was a baseball fan.
Yeah.
But it was catchy.
Speaking of baseball, there was a baseball store that was robbed in the neighborhood, and he had him and his crew run down on the robbers and beat them up.
He did at GW. And one of those robbers was, interestingly enough, one of the people in that gang. I don't know if he was specifically involved in the robbery. I don't think he was, but this gang was called the Royal Playboys, and they were a well-known youth gang in Washington Heights. And to come out of the Royal Playboys was Lenny Sepulveda, who became the leader of the Wild Cowboys gang in the South Bronx. So he was a big-time kingpin, right?
Okay.
So one of those men, it doesn't mention exactly who it was, but I did confirm the story happened. Somehow they found out it was this kid, and they went to George Washington High School. They saw him and his friends. And I don't even think they caught the actual kid that robbed them. They just caught one of his friends. And they gave him a beat down because they can't get to him. We'll get to somebody and teach him a lesson, right? Mm-hmm. And so, they hunted down the kids that crossed them. They were not the right people to cross.
I saw something where he sent some of his goons to go burn down a rival's house.
Yeah.
What was that pertaining to? Why did he do that?
I couldn't get the specifics on that one, but the people he sent were Lenny and Nelson, who were the leaders of the Wild Cowboys. Lenny's older brother Nelson, and Lenny were first working for Yayo. Mm-hmm. They were brought on by Mike the Dome. His name is. He's Mike Santos, right? He runs his own podcast called the Heights Podcast. Shout out to him. He's the one that put on Lenny and Nelson, and they actually essentially worked for Mike, and but Mike worked for Yayo. So there was again that insulation, but they were doing dirty work for Yayo. So they were selling vials, but they were also doing dirty work. I don't know the reason why they sent him to burn down a part. It was probably a production apartment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And Yayo had a very structured hierarchy of his drug operation. Yes. Could you get into that a little bit?
So I know people who know Yayo. I've been lucky to connect with some very, very in the know people, like I said before, right? So what I hear, what I already learned from my research and so on, and what they said, he's a very serious guy, not a man of many words, right? but very demanding. And he was a very, very demanding guy. He was very disciplined, right? Didn't drink, didn't smoke. He ran it with the hierarchy of Colombian cartels, what they call the pyramid structure, right? So you got the brand owner up here, you got the mid-level managers, you got the street managers, and everyone is overseeing people below them. And what's interesting is that they keep it so you don't know anyone higher than one level above you. You insulate yourselves from the lower people just to protect the organization, right?
So you can't even snitch on me because you don't even know who I am.
You don't know who I am. You don't know who your street manager's working for. You don't know me, right?